What is up, everyone? I'm so excited to get into today's episode with Isabel from the Just Isabel Things podcast. We're talking all things The Devil Wears Prada. But before we get into that, I want to kind of offer y'all a podcast update, kind of what's going on in my life and kind of what to expect in the podcast going forward. So as we know, I'm on an every other week release schedule, a bi-weekly release schedule until the end of August. And I'm here to tell you guys that unfortunately, for the podcast, I will be continuing at a bi-weekly schedule for the time being. However, in my life, I have been cast in a super exciting show that I'm not really able to talk too much about just yet, but it will be taking a big chunk of my time. So I've kind of had to step down from the podcast and kind of focus on other aspects of my life. I'm also a high school senior almost. So like starting those college applications, I actually just submitted my first one just 2 hours ago. So I just want to let y'all know like kind of what's going on. We'll still be on that bi-weekly schedule. So new episodes every other Friday. Like it's so crazy for me to every other Friday. As well as my episodes have kind of been like a little bit of a hot mess, and I apologize. They're definitely not my best. They've also been kind of getting shorter. I can't really explain why. It's kind of weird because like as the podcast has grown, the episodes have gotten longer. They've kind of gotten shorter, longer, shorter. It's just kind of like a thing that I'm not really able to control. I don't really know why. Sometimes I guess just things move at a little bit faster pace. And this one was actually moving at a faster pace because the Zoom meeting was like going to end, because apparently now that's a thing. Shout out to you, Zoom, for getting rid of the unlimited minutes for a 2-person meeting, which I did not know about. So shout out to you. I'm super excited about this episode. I'm not really sure what's coming up after this, but I'll let y'all know. And enjoy this episode of That's So Matthew, The Devil Wears Prada. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of That's So Matthew. Today, I am so excited to have the teen podcast duo reunited.
Yes.
On That's So Matthew. I feel like it's been like forever since you were on That's So Matthew.
Okay, yeah, like definitely since last school, definitely before the spring.
I think it was like winter, like December.
Probably.
Well, I'm so excited to have you back.
Thank you. I'm excited to be back. I love being on here to talk about movies that we both enjoy. But yeah, if you guys are new here, my name is Isabel. I'm the host and creator of the Just Isabel Things podcast. I post a new episode every other Sunday, so come check me out.
Wait, why did I not know that you were on the every other?
Yeah, okay, I made the announcement actually this last week.
Okay, so
It's
every
like
other
a new
week,
thing.
it's like a thing. But it's really helpful for anyone who's having a podcast. Our tip to you: don't feel pressure to post every single week if you can't.
Yes.
Slay. So today we're talking about the 2006 film The Devil Wears Prada, and I'm very excited. I actually just watched it for the first time like a month or so ago.
Yes, I also watched this movie for the first time a month or so ago. I think I saw like a TikTok about it or something, and then I was like, oh, like I think I want to watch it, and so I did, and it was like decent.
Yeah, it was actually surprisingly good because I watched it because there's a musical adaptation of it playing in Chicago right now. And I was like, I want to go see this. Like, this sounds so cool. Like, there were so many people in it that I liked. The second the reviews came out about this musical, I was like, yep, nope.
That's actually so funny. I didn't even know that there was like a musical adaptation playing in Chicago. And yet I live like in the Chicagoland area. So
yeah, it's so funny because I feel like it's like there's all these movie musicals. And so I was like, why is it so bad? And then I watched it and I was like, yeah, this just doesn't seem like a movie that should be a musical.
right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like I feel like it's like good by itself. Like yeah, and I also feel like this movie doesn't need a sequel.
Yes. No, it was honestly surprisingly good. I'm very excited. Also Anne Hathaway. We all know I am an Anne Hathaway stan. I did my Princess Diaries episodes earlier this year, literally obsessed.
Yes, we love her.
And Meryl Streep. So
yeah, Meryl Streep is a queen, and like I know like a lot of actors and actresses when they meet her, they're like, I can't believe I'm in your presence. Like you are a queen in my world.
Literally, it's such a good movie in my opinion. So let's honestly jump into our first character, Meryl Streep's Miranda Priestley.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Miranda Priestley's character is loosely based off of, I think it's Anna Wintour, but is Anna Wintour like, is she for like, is she the editor for Vogue or
I think
is
she
she
is.
okay? And she's has a big role in Coachella, and so Miranda Priestley is loosely based off of Anna Wintour, who's a real person in real life. And Miranda Priestley is the editor-in-chief of Runway magazine, which is also loosely based off of Vogue. So yeah, she's a lot. She's a lot.
Okay, I didn't hate her like as much as I think they wanted me to hate her.
That's fair. That's fair. I could see that. And you know, there's a lot of movies out there where like you kind of expect her to like be nice to Andy, but she doesn't become nice to Andy ever.
She also literally never calls Andy the right name. So
Right.
I think, okay, I didn't hate her, but I feel like she was kind of stuck up. And like the whole like scene in Paris, which we'll get to like eventually towards the end, that like really irritated me.
Yeah.
Like I feel like she's just kind of two-faced. Like I get it. Like she's supposed, it's like kind of referencing like that she's like the devil, you know?
Yeah.
But I just was kind of like, oh, okay. Like I just didn't necessarily understand like why everyone didn't like her. Like she's definitely not nice. But
Right.
at the same time, I wasn't like hating her. And we also got to see like some different sides of her. Like she has twin daughters, which
She's going through a divorce.
yeah, she will literally do anything for these daughters. Or
Yeah.
I will say she'll get Andy to do anything for these daughters.
That's true. That is so fair.
Like I feel like she's trying her best, but she's definitely missing.
Right.
Like I think she just needs a little bit more empathy.
Yes. Yes. And like, I definitely don't want her as my boss ever because she expects way too much from Andy. Like, expects her to literally book a plane when it's pouring rain and storming like everywhere. And obviously, like, you can't book a plane when the weather is bad. And she like yelled at Andy, and Andy's like, the weather's bad. Like, what am I supposed to do? But yeah.
For sure. Yeah, she's just kind of like annoying. Also, she didn't make Andy, but like Andy wanted to impress her by like going out of her way to like change herself for her.
Right.
So obviously, I feel like I say this in like every single podcast episode, no matter what. Don't change yourself for anyone.
True.
Not worth it. Not worth it.
Not worth it. Just don't do it. But Andy kind of changed herself by what she wore. You know, she had literally the most, like the first couple days she worked there at Runway magazine, she had literally the most drab of clothing. Like it wasn't that bad. Like you could easily wear that to any corporate office and be perfectly fine, perfectly appropriate. But like when it comes to Runway magazine, like she just looked like so drab compared to what all the other workers were wearing, because they were wearing, you know, these super elite designer clothing, and she obviously she didn't have access to that at first, but once she started working there, she started wearing the clothes, and Miranda kind of gave her a second look, like, oh, like she's kind of like changing a little bit, but that didn't change Miranda's behavior toward her.
Yeah, it was like a tough situation. I still feel bad because she was like a bitch, excuse my language, but I didn't hate her. I think it was Meryl Streep. I think
yeah, it was Meryl Streep doing what she does best.
Acting. And
yes,
loved it. Our next character is Andy, aka Andrea, played by Anne Hathaway. So I have like, this sounds bad. I feel like she's supposed to be like the likable one you're supposed to like vibe with. Yeah. I kind of hated her at some points.
That's fair.
Like, okay, Exhibit A was when she like her boyfriend, that whole situation thing.
Oh, Nate, yeah.
Like she was changing herself and he was like, stop, like, why are you changing yourself? Basically.
Right.
And then she just basically seduced him and then it was okay.
That's literally what happened. That is literally word for word what happened. So yeah, like he was just he was like supportive, but also like wasn't really supportive. And that caused them to have a rocky relationship. And Andy didn't really try to fix anything too.
No, she kind of just like let her life fall apart.
Right.
And also the other thing that like I didn't like about her was she like had this like whole thing of like the whole Paris thing. She's like, but this is like Emily's thing. And then
Right.
she's like, never mind, I'm doing it for myself.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I think she had good intentions, but she definitely
Wanted the experience for herself. And like she like felt bad about it too. But
it was
her
just
life
it was
fell apart.
interesting for sure.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Of like like Andy or
Yeah,
like how
Andy.
she was just like yeah, there were some points where I was like, okay, like I probably would have done the same thing. Like, you know, I've like worked really hard at my job, so whatever job I do, and like she wants to work hard for Miranda. She wants to showcase that she has the skills, she deserves to be there, all that good stuff. And like in my own life, like I feel like I definitely, you know, go the extra mile in whatever I do. So I like completely understand that and could relate to that and could see like, oh, she's just like not doing this just to like get a higher position on runway. She's doing this so it could lead to another job, to a good job down the road. Like this opens up, this job opens doors to other opportunities, whether that would be with runway, which she was kind of like, oh, maybe I don't want to work for runway at the beginning, but then maybe kind of toward the end, it kind of seemed like she wanted to continue her job at runway a little bit.
Yeah, because I already forgot his name. There's this one guy.
Stanley Tucci's character. Let me look up his name because I can't remember his name.
It was Nigel.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
So basically, if we're gonna dive right into him, he is like this executive guy that Andy has this little sub love plot with after she kind of like separates from her boyfriend. He irked me to my core.
Wait, we're not talking about Stanley Tucci's character. We're talking about are we talking about Christian Thompson? Like Christian?
Yeah, Christian. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Sorry,
I was like a little.
I was lost too because I didn't like him, so I didn't really pay attention to whenever he was on the screen. No, okay, so this guy, he's like
he irked me too. I was just like, what are you trying to do? Like,
I couldn't tell what was going on because there was so much going on. Because okay, so first off, he's the one who gets like the J.K. Rowling like
books.
Manuscript.
Yeah.
And then he like has this sub love plot with her.
Mm-hmm. While really, she's kind of together with her boyfriend.
Yeah, like fully still together with her boyfriend. Yeah. And I think he was just trying to set her up for like failure, and then at the end, like he was like trying to like set her up and like get her to where she wants to be for her like her goals and aspirations.
Right.
But it was so weird because I could not tell what his motive was absolutely at all.
Right, but like, do you think like he actually liked her? Because why would he go through that much to like sleep with her? Like literally be like, let's go out in Paris. And then have him be like, oh, by the way, so-and-so is taking Miranda Priest's job at Runway.
Yeah, what was that? I don't like.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell. I just feel like he was just like he was kind of like a bit of a villain. Because like right. I feel like I couldn't tell if he wanted to like be there and support Andy or if he was just like trying to sleep with her.
Both. It could be both.
I think it was both.
Honestly, he probably wasn't getting love from anyone. And so he went for her.
Yeah. I don't know. It was weird. But Nigel.
I didn't really like him as a character.
Yeah.
But like I can see why they added him to the plot to make things more interesting.
Yeah. Nigel. I did like Nigel though.
Yes, he kind of like helped Andy a little bit and give her some pointers about what to expect from Miranda. Like
But
these are the
then
clothes
he
to
got
wear.
screwed over too at
He
the end.
did. He did. Because he was supposed to be like the creative director at a new company, but it didn't work out. So
Yeah. So basically everyone gets screwed over in this movie.
honestly, that is so true. Everyone in the end, all you need to know about this movie is everyone gets screwed over.
But Nigel, I think the other thing is I feel like he was just trying to be so nice and like he was just trying to be there for her, and then it kind of
Right.
just like backfired and just like
Yeah. And the interesting thing is like Nigel, you know, he was so from what I remember, he was supposed to take over the creative director of Holt Publishing, but then in order to show Miranda, in order to save her, she knew all along what was going on. In order for her to save her own job, because she didn't want to give up Runway, she had to give the creative position to that other girl.
yeah.
I forgot her name, but she was like big in the fashion industry.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just kind of like it was still really good, like the movie. It's just like there was just like really no happy ending for anyone.
Honestly, yeah. Probably the happiest of endings of this movie was Andy getting a new job.
Yeah, and also like before we get into Emily, because we haven't talked about her yet. The whole new job
Or
thing.
Andy getting the new job. Sorry, Andy getting the new job. I don't know why I said Emily.
Okay. Yeah, no, Andy. So Andy getting the new job. It's like they called Miranda and were like, should we hire this girl? Like we need a reference.
Yeah.
And then she was like, she was the biggest disappointment ever. But if you don't hire her, you've messed up or something.
You're
like
an idiot. Yeah.
It was weird.
It's weird, but it kind of just like goes to show like even though Miranda was the bitch she was and was a lot to handle and like kind of take care of, she kind of knew what Andy could do, and she knew her as an employee. And I think that actually pops up a lot in the corporate world of corporate America.
Yeah, for sure. It's like LinkedIn. You got your connections.
Oh my God, I love LinkedIn, and it's part of my social media scroll. Like it's part of
No,
like
literally, me too. People at work make fun of me for it, but I love LinkedIn.
I love LinkedIn, and I'm I try to grow connections like all the time. So for anyone who wants to
I'll
add
link
me
it
on
below in the
LinkedIn,
show notes.
yeah, you can also, it's in the link in my bio. Just click on it and you can connect with me. I'll add you back.
No, literally, I think it's so fun. It's actually really funny because I was talking about it one day on my break with some of my other coworkers. And then like moments later, my supervisor was in his office and he requested me on LinkedIn.
That is so funny.
And now
I
it's like
love
just become a
that.
running joke. Like we literally roasted each other's LinkedIn. Like me and my supervisor, we roasted each other's LinkedIn.
That's great.
I was like, no, this change the wording of this. Like you can do better than this. Like it was just I love LinkedIn. Like literally, you're right. Social media scrolls at night. Like I will scroll through TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Yes.
Like even like half of the stuff like has nothing to do with anything that I want to do.
Right. And I don't understand a lot of it, but I still scroll through it anyways.
And I will still look for connections. Like
honestly, yeah. Look for those connections because like I'm connected with some people who work at like Sony and Marvel, and they work in LA and they work for Warner Brothers and all this stuff. And it's just like that's a really good connection to have. And they like are happy to connect with me because I'm
literally
and stuff.
I love LinkedIn. So I will link both of our LinkedIns below.
Yes,
please connect
add
with us.
We'll add you back.
Yeah, no, literally, I will add anyone back. Yeah, so Emily, because I feel like I totally forgot to talk about her, and she was actually one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
Emily Blunt,
who plays Emily.
She is kind of an icon. I kind of feel bad for her because she at the beginning, I couldn't tell if she loved or hated her job. Because
Right.
she was like, I used to be the second assistant, but now I'm the first assistant. Now you're gonna be the first assistant. And it was kind of just like, I couldn't tell. But then as the movie went along, I realized that she really is dedicated to Miranda. Like she's more dedicated to Miranda than like Andy.
True. And she's like very like it seems like she's been at the job obviously for not I don't want to say a long time, but obviously a longer time than Andy has. And she's kind of seems like she's scared to do anything else.
Yeah. No, for sure. I also feel kind of bad for her because like she's really been focusing like on Paris and then she gets like it stripped away from her like right away, like in the end.
Yeah, she gets hit by a car and then she's on the phone with Andy and Andy's like, "Hi, I'm going to Paris." And she's just like super pissed off. One, because she like can't move, and two, because she's not going to Paris. And she was like dieting super, super crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I want to talk about that because
body.
I wrote this down in my notes. It's like, so I don't eat until I'm about to pass out, but then I eat a little block of cheese and I'm okay. And then you do it again. So like literally this girl is like starving herself, but then she eats a block of cheese and she's okay.
So yeah.
And then she's like lost a bunch of weight and then for Paris. And then it's like, yeah, no, you're not going to Paris.
That I would be so honestly, like for Emily's character, like I would be so pissed. And Miranda's like, well, Andy says to Miranda, like, why did you take that position away from Nigel and give it to that other girl? And Miranda's like, you did the same thing to Emily.
No, this girl, Miranda, she was something. She literally kind of had like a little bit of like an unexpected attitude.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think back to Emily, I was doing my research on this movie, and I think this was like Emily Blunt's like first like big movie role. I think. I have to look. Hold on. This was her first, like she was in like smaller TV shows and movies, but this was her first like feature American film. Because she did like smaller British TV shows, but she like this was her first big role. And she like killed it. Like she did awesome in this movie.
Yeah, she's like
Mhm.
I also because okay, this sounds so bad, but I always get Emma Stone and Emily Blunt mixed up.
That's
so I had to like double check that this was Emily Blunt. And I was like, oh my god, she's like slaying.
Yes.
No, and it's just like she's a good character. Like
she is a good character.
Like honestly, probably my favorite, which is weird because like at the beginning I was kind of like, I don't like you. You're annoying. Like, why are you being like so like annoying? And then I realized that I think she just cares more about Miranda than anyone else.
True.
But like
and
she
like
can't
pleasing
care.
Miranda.
Yeah, it's like I feel like she can't care. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. What else do we have to discuss?
Honestly, let's just jump into the plot.
Okay.
So from the beginning, we have Andy, who is a aspiring journalist. She does not really like the fashion industry, but she is now going to be the assistant to Miranda Priestley at Runway, which, like we said, is loosely based off of like Vogue.
Mm-hmm.
And it is described as like a job that a million girls would kill for.
Which is weird because like, how did she even get the job? Just like
by her, like,
right?
She's not like anything special, in my opinion.
Right, and she doesn't have any fashion experience or anything like that. And there's probably girls who applied who had fashion experience. But anyways, Andy gets picked for the role, fresh out of college. She's ready for a job, ready for a new start. And she shows up, and it's just like not what she expects.
No, right off the bat, she kind of like has some really bad coworkers. Like we have the senior assistant, Emily, and they have this like kind of like a dress trial meeting kind of thing where they like look at all these fashion designs and Miranda like gives her honest opinion through like signals, like I think it's like winking,
right,
biting her lips. It's like really funny to me
right,
because
right.
She's so professional, like she doesn't even like say anything and like everyone knows.
Mm-hmm.
She also like has this whole thing because Annie's like, oh, I'm just gonna put up with her for like a year and then I'll get a job somewhere else. Then Nigel comes in and kind of helps show her the ropes of like Runway, the fashion design, Miranda, all of the above.
Yes.
And so she kind of like decides that she's going to like actually become like a full-on like assistant that includes like changing herself,
and she like dedicates herself.
No, she does. She like changes everything about herself just because she wants to be like a better assistant because she feels like she's not like being accepted into the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's mostly Emily, like that kind of
Right.
like picking on her a little bit.
Right.
So it's like really interesting because she just fully comes into work one day and she's just like fully in a new person.
Right. And then like kind of a little bit after that, she starts to like dive headfirst into this role. She goes to a bar and gets drinks with her friends, but has to leave early like a bunch of different times because Miranda has a duty to do, and Miranda needs her to do something for her. Or she was out to dinner with her dad, or Andy was out to dinner with her dad and had to get pulled out because she had to do something for Miranda. So she like dedicates her free time, work time, and will go the full like everything to
Yeah.
make sure Miranda has what she needs when and all that good stuff.
And it also is like creating problems with Nate, her boyfriend, who
Right.
I didn't even like. Like,
yeah, he could have definitely been a lot more supportive.
he wasn't supportive at all because I feel like he would know that like she's doing this job to like get her somewhere down the line.
Right.
But it just like I was like, okay, so you're like kind of annoying.
Yeah.
And he was like, just like, why are you doing this for her? Like, she's a horrible person. Like, this is your job. Like, I don't know.
Right.
He just was frustrating. But then Miranda starts to notice like the change of appearance and the commitment. And so she like starts giving her more work to do.
Emily kind of starts to notice this, like,
and Emily, I
kind
feel
of
like
give a
Emily starts
face.
getting a little jealous for sure.
Mhm.
So after that, what do you mean? Our meeting is gonna end in 10 minutes. I swear to God, I'm literally on Zoom Premium.
That's funny.
That's really scary because this never happened before, guys. That's so Matthew AF. No, because it literally used to be free, wasn't it? For like,
Yeah, and then Zoom. The economy is not good, but you don't have to
you know
fall
what?
under.
Whatever. If we have to do a new Zoom
Stop.
meeting, we
Yeah.
will. We will, because that we are dedicated to
We are
this
dedicated.
podcast.
We are.
So then she starts becoming like really like absorbed into the company.
Yes.
And she like is becoming like glamorous. She's like living her runway life.
Right.
And from here is where it gets like a little messy because like she starts like I don't want to doing better, like outperforming Emily.
Maybe showcasing more than Emily.
Yeah. Good choice of words.
Yeah.
And so it kind of like starts like pushing Emily to make sure that she will get to go to Paris as the assistant. So she starts doing that like extreme cheese diet.
Yeah. To make her body Paris ready, even though she was already like really skinny.
Yeah. So then because she's not eating, she starts feeling like sick and she's not being able to remember like these important details.
Mm-hmm.
And she like saves like, and then Andy steps in and saves Emily from all of this disappointment with Miranda.
Yeah.
And she is asked to replace her as the assistant in Paris.
Yes. And this is like right after she gets hit by a car.
Okay, the hit by a car really came out of nowhere. Can we talk about that? Like, whoa,
It's definitely something that would be in like a different type of movie.
It was like kind of unexpected, not gonna lie.
She could have like slipped in the bathroom or something and broken her leg, or maybe I don't know, just like getting hit by a car is just so out there.
But like also they are in like New York.
True. Which is like, okay, maybe it's more common in New York, but
no, you're right. It was just kind of like unexpected.
Yeah.
So then Annie calls Emily to tell her that she is not going to Paris. And then she like this is after she's in the hospital, the car crash, and then Emily is like absolutely furious.
Yes, she's just so pissed off. Because she was like, Andy, like I really thought like you would let me have this and da da da, like all this stuff. And she like doesn't really know what to think.
I also like hot take, like if someone's doing a better job than you, like shouldn't they get that? But like
Yeah.
I don't know.
But also you
I
feel bad at
really
the same time.
I feel bad because I did like Emily as a character, but I was kind of like she's kind of been like doing more work than you. So then I don't
Right.
know. And that's like I feel like the fashion industry and like the way that they make it out is like that's just kind of the normal stuff.
The norm. Right.
Yeah. So then Andy tells Nate and then they break up because he's like, you're dedicating your whole life to this bitch, Miranda. Like
Right.
you're
He's
like
just so not supportive at all.
literally so unsupportive.
And
And
also, like, how do they afford that New York apartment? It's like not, it's like not small, but not huge. And he's literally a chef, and she's working at a job that's probably not paying a whole lot.
yeah, and also it's just he's so unsupportive.
It's not it.
He's just not it. And so then they have this little lunch in direct like thing where Miranda's like, this lady is going to be taking over as the new creative director. Then
Right.
Andy and Nigel are like stunned, but
Yep.
then she explains to like Andy, she's like, yeah, I knew that they were going to try and replace her. And they like sacrificed Nigel, which like, why Nigel?
I know. Nigel has like, I feel like Nigel's like the type of character who's like been there from the start, has seen everything, like all that stuff.
And so then it's like kind of crazy because then this is when Miranda's like, but you did the same thing to Emily.
Right. Right.
Left out of left field because no, technically, Miranda, you were the one who did this to Emily.
True. That's true. Like, yeah, but also at the same time, like Andy didn't have to go to Paris.
That's so true. I guess I didn't think about that. I feel like if like someone like Miranda told me that I should go to Paris, I'd go to Paris.
Yeah, if I'm getting invited to Paris, I am going to Paris.
It's just kind of crazy. And then he walks away, and then Miranda throws her cell phone into the fountain.
Yep. Power
Very
move.
dramatic. Like it was something.
It was dramatic, but it was like a power move at the same time.
For sure. So at some point, I think this is towards the end of this is like at the very end, they kind of like Andy and Nate like reconcile. They apologize. And he's like, I'm a sous chef in Boston.
Right. And she gets a new job.
And she works at this new publication company. And then we talk about like, that's when we get to the scene where it's like, Andy was one of the biggest disappointments in my life. But if you don't hire her, you're making a big mistake.
Right.
And it's like crazy. And then Andy calls Emily and then gives her the dresses from Paris.
Yes.
But then this is like the weirdest ending literally ever. It's like this really weird long clip of Andy staring at Miranda outside of the runway building.
Yeah. And she like waves, and Miranda's just kind of like, whoa, like,
who do you think you are?
What are you doing?
Miranda does not acknowledge her at all, but then she smiles once she gets in the car, and then black screen end.
End the movie. Yeah. So that's Devil Wears Prada.
It's so good. Like honestly, looking back,
it is good. It is good, and it's like a cute movie. Like it's kind of like a chick flick, but I feel like it's yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. So because I'm having a countdown right now, we're just gonna jump right into ratings. So I give this movie like honestly an 8 out of 10.
Okay, I'm gonna give this movie a 7.5 out of 10.
Slay. I also hate that I say slay on podcast now. That's so disgusting.
Slay.
But honestly, I think the only thing that would have like made it better is I feel like there's just like some plot holes. There was obviously like that whole sub love plot that I didn't love.
Yeah, that was weird.
And it just
getting hit by a car.
It could have been better, but it definitely could have been worse.
Right.
It's just a cute movie. Can't see being a musical, so glad I didn't waste my time on that.
It's on Hulu for those of you who are interested in watching it, or if you haven't seen it in a long time, you guys should go watch it. Because it's like a good New York movie too.
For sure. Where can people listen to your podcast, follow you, support you, all that stuff?
All right, so you guys can follow me on Instagram at just.isabel.things.podcast. You can listen to me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And yeah, hope to see you guys on my page.
Yes. I will record my outro on a separate file because we're running on time. But
thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye. All right, it's Matthew. I'm back. It's just me. So the Zoom meeting ended. Obviously, I did not know that was a thing until today. So shout out to Zoom for that. I promise I'll fix it before the next episode so that it's not so rushed and all that jazz. But I want to thank you all so much for tuning into this week's episode of That's So Matthew. If you guys would love to see more of me, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all the places at That's So Matthew. You can also check out my website, that'smatthew.com, for all the fun stuff on there. I post a new episode every other Friday, so make sure to tune in for all the amazing stuff I've got planned. And I'll see y'all in another episode again soon. Bye.